Can I ask you a question?
Did you ever think about how Taylor Swift has moved really hard into filmmaking over the past few years and could potentially be our next major director? Because I have. I've thought about it a lot, and we're gonna get into it in this episode. So buckle up.
Again, we apologize for naming our Taylor Swift ticket giveaway the T-Swift virus. It was clearly in poor taste after the events of the past 3 years. We will instead be renaming the contest the Rampant T-Swift Epidemic. It's gone global.
How is that better?
They're about to say the rules.
If you want backstage passes to the hottest concert of the decade, you just need to put on your thinking caps, cause you're going back to school. Bueller?
Nice use of hypnology.
Get out your pens and pencils, kiddies, cause we're having a Taylor Swift essay contest. We want you to create an essay all about T-Swift. Now remember, these essays should be no longer than...
An essay contest? Oh, we got this. You've played it right into my hands, Channel 100.1 Morning Zoo crew.
Alright, easy peasy. We film you saying you love Taylor Swift's music, toss in a few film theory words to sound smart, send it in, we'll be done in 5 minutes.
Emma, come on, we can't do a pedestrian video essay here. Do you know how my brain works? Where's the thesis? Where's the Nebula exclusive bonus section?
I feel a 2-part deep dive coming.
This needs to be an unflinching, exhaustive examination. Do you think Wallace Shawn would just say, I love T-Swift and call it a day? Unthinkable.
You think 79-year-old Wallace Shawn is going to be competing for Taylor Swift tickets?
Oh, I know he will. And I'll crush him.
Hey, are you guys supposed to be filming?
Hi, Dave the agent. Yeah, we came in early to set up, but now we're taking a crack at winning Taylor Swift tickets.
Oh, and if you win the tickets, you sell them to get enough money to get yourselves out of debt. That's smart.
No, I'm not gonna sell them. I just want to see the Eras tour.
What you need to know for this video is that your sponsor is Henson Shaving. Bullet points are on your desk.
A shaving sponsor for a Taylor Swift video? What am I supposed to say? Like, shaving will leave your face with a blank space? Henson razors will give you the shave of your wildest dreams? Other companies' razors will give you death by 1,000 cuts? Wait, these are good. Emma, write those down.
You're doing good. You're on some new shit.
Alright, time for a quick, simple, easy essay. I'll get the extra camera batteries.
Hello and welcome back to the show. Now, right up top, I just want to remind everyone that our campaign, Mission Impossible, is still going strong. So as we get closer to the Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 world premiere, please make sure you reach out to anyone you might know at Paramount Pictures, or family members, friends, even random passersby on the street, and let them know that Patrick Willems, this guy on the internet, would really like to attend. Okay, now that that business is out of the way, let's get to why we are here today. We're here to talk about Taylor Swift.
Are you ready for it? Yes.
Right now, many of you are probably asking, why? This is, after all, a show about movies. What could I possibly have to say about music other than those annoying Oasis references I throw in every so often? Well, the truth is, we are talking about movies because Taylor Swift, one of, if not the biggest pop star on the planet, is a filmmaker. If you're not a Taylor Swift fan, you may have missed it, but for several years now, she has been making moves to build a new identity for herself outside of just being one of the most famous musicians alive. Back in 2019, she took over directing all of her music videos, and in 2021, released what is, to date, her magnum opus, All Too Well, the short film. Sure, it's only 15 minutes long, but it got a theatrical release and screened on 35mm film at the Toronto International Film Festival, so that counts, baby. Taylor Swift has never done anything half-assed, and she has been very carefully positioning herself in the right spaces and among the right people. Last fall, at the Tribeca Film Festival, she did a Q&A about filmmaking hosted by Mike Mills, director of 20th Century Women and Come On, Come On. In December, she appeared in Variety's Directors on Directors video series with an extended conversation between her and Martin McDonagh. And then, late last year, the news broke that Swift has signed a deal with Searchlight Pictures to direct her first feature from a screenplay that she has written. So like it or not, Taylor Swift is about to be a filmmaker that we have to take seriously. And so that is why I'm here today. Before we learn any information about this movie, what it's about, who's in it, what genre it's even in, I want to explore her filmmaking work up to now, how it's evolved over time, its links with her music, what her influences are, and where she might go from here. But first, I'd like to say something about Henson shaving. Henson razors are machined to last. Buy one, use it forever, and pass it down from generation to generation. Don't let your children say, "She's laughing up at us from hell," because of our terrible shaves. So with that out of the way, it feels like a perfect night to take a serious look at Taylor Swift, movie director. But before we jump ahead to 2019 and analyze her first solo directing work, I think we need to step back and answer a bigger question. What actually makes Taylor Swift interesting as an artist? Why bother devoting an entire video to someone who has never directed anything longer than 15 minutes? Is this just a desperate attempt to balance out the insane gender gap in my audience? That would be a good guess, but no. Look, I'm trying to win tickets to the Eras Tour, so obviously I am a fan of Taylor Swift. But to be clear, I would not call myself a Swiftie. I will just never be that level of fan for anything. Like, I don't really care about her personal life. I'm not going to sign an open letter telling her to break up with someone. I'm not that interested in what Easter eggs she's hiding in music videos to hint at what Taylor's version album might come next. Like, here's the level of fan I am. I own a few of her albums on vinyl. I should probably buy Evermore. But I did not bother to re-buy Red when Taylor's version came out. If I want to hear those versions of the songs, I can just do that on Spotify. So yeah, I'm just like a normal fan who likes her music a lot and forgot to even make a plan to get tickets for the Eras Tour until it was too late, and so that's why I'm here trying to win them via an essay contest. But okay. Why am I a fan in the first place? What was the appeal for me? Well, I could say, she makes good music. 1989, that thing is wall-to-wall bangers. Have you heard The Bridge and Cruel Summer? Masterpiece. But that is a vague, meaningless answer, and there's more to it than that. I became a fan during the Red era. Up until then, I was aware that she was a big deal, but the whole teen girl country pop thing wasn't really for me, so I just didn't pay much attention. And then, while I was on a work trip, driving a rental car and listening to the radio a lot, I kept hearing We're Never Ever Getting Back Together and 22, and finally, it clicked. It's the narrative. Nearly every Taylor Swift song tells its own story. Back when I was first becoming a fan, I remember explaining it to my friends saying, see, they're like diary entries turned into really catchy pop songs. Like, there is a specificity to the lyrics describing events and visuals and feelings that really seem to, and actually do, come straight from her own life. These are songs that no one else could have written. To be clear, I am not dissing singers whose songs are written by other people. That's totally fine. Plenty of the best songs ever recorded were made that way, like the Bangles song, Manic Monday. But more on Prince later. In her review of Folklore in Pitchfork, Jill Mapes refers to Swift as pop's most reliable first-person essayist, writing, "Her biggest strength is her storytelling, her well-honed songwriting craft meeting the vivid whimsy of her imagination. The music these stories are set to is subject to change, so long as it can be rooted in these traditions. You can tell that this is what drives Swift by the way she molds her songs, cramming specific details into curious cadences, bending the lines to her will." Listening to Taylor Swift's music reminds me of Nora Ephron's mantra that she was taught by her mother, who is also a writer: everything is copy. In other words, every experience you live through is material that you can use in your creative work. That's what Ephron did in her essays and books and screenplays, and that's what Swift does with her music. If you don't believe me, here she is a few years ago, literally saying that exact same thing.
One of my favorite quotes is how Nora Ephron used to say, everything is copy. Everything that happened to her, she used as inspiration.
Pop music is filled with millions of breakup songs, but there aren't many like All Too Well, which chronicles the gradual disintegration of a relationship through these snapshots of memories, starting with happy ones like meeting her boyfriend's parents for the first time, as his mom tells embarrassing stories about him playing t-ball as a kid, or the two of them dancing in the kitchen at night, illuminated by the light from the refrigerator, to the sad ones, watching the door all night at her birthday party, waiting for him to arrive, which he never does. As her career has progressed, the storytelling evolved, and Swift started looking outward more, writing songs about characters that were not her. The Last Great American Dynasty recounts the story of eccentric heiress Rebecca Harkness. No Body, No Crime, on which she's backed up by the Hyam sisters, is about a woman murdering her cheating husband. And the songs Cardigan, August, and Betty make up what's nicknamed the Teenage Love Triangle trilogy, with each song taking the perspective of a different character. It's like a mini cinematic universe of songs. But you can't talk about Taylor Swift's talent for storytelling without discussing the biggest story she's ever told, the overarching meta-narrative that has run through her entire career. As Emily Yar writes in the Washington Post, people make jokes about the Taylor Swift cinematic universe, but it's not even really a joke. Since her debut country album in 2006, Swift has carefully and steadily built her own mythology, embedding puzzles and hints about the true meaning of her work in album notes and sprinkling clues about her life in social media posts and videos. Her use of symbols and imagery has only grown over time to the point that if you look deep enough into Swift world, her fans seem as if they are practically speaking another language with abbreviations, coded catchphrases, and references that only they understand. For a woman who once famously asked to be excluded from a narrative, she is ironically one of the great masters of constructing an elaborate ongoing narrative. Everything she does, from her songs to her branding to her personal life to her social media posts to her clothing, is all a small part of one grand story. When her 2016 feud with Kanye and Kim Kardashian led to thousands of people spamming her online with snake emojis, she returned the following year with a more villainous persona, embracing the snake imagery in her Reputation tour and even her official merchandise. Then in 2019, the music video for Me, the first single from her next album, Lover, began with a snake exploding into a cloud of pastel-colored butterflies, symbolizing the start of a warmer, more optimistic era. And that video also contained clues about the album's title, the second single, guest artists featured on the album, and the reveal of her new cat, as in her actual real-life pet cat. So that, in a nutshell, is why I think Taylor Swift is interesting. Yes, the songs rule, but there's an incredible skill and talent for storytelling and iconography. If all you care about is her music, and that's the most important part for me, that's totally fine. But running through the whole thing, there is a much larger, more complex narrative that's there if you want to follow it. Kind of like this channel, actually. Are we the Taylor Swift of YouTube? No, because she's really rich and successful, and I'm not. Other than Beyonce, who we will talk about later in this video, there is no current pop star as skilled at crafting a narrative and projecting a perfectly curated version of themselves. But while Beyonce's public persona is a powerful, astoundingly wealthy, impossibly beautiful goddess at whose feet her fans worship, Swift's image is that of the relatable girl next door, a normal woman with normal problems. She's kind of like your best friend who you talk to about regular relationship drama. But then, there's also the fantasy part. The regular woman transforms into a polished pop star. So what I'm saying is, she's basically Hannah Montana.
Did you know that Taylor Swift is in the Hannah Montana movie?
No, I've actually never seen the Hannah Montana movie.
Oh man, that was my favorite movie when I was 8.
You were 8? I went back and watched every single music video that Taylor Swift has ever made, from Tim McGraw back in 2006 all the way up through Karma, which dropped as I was working on this episode. It's a fascinating way to see how she has evolved over the past 17 years, not just as a visual storyteller, but as a musician, a pop star, and an artist. The first era of her music videos, which I never really hear anyone talk about, is her collaboration with director Trey Fanjoy on most of the videos from her first 2 albums. It's easy to be thrown off by the name, but Trey Fanjoy is a woman. So Swift literally began her career and had her first on-set experiences working with a female director. Considering how much pride she takes in being a female director, how much she talks about looking up to female directors of the past and present, this feels important. The thing about Taylor Swift songs, especially in her earlier eras, is that they translate to video form extremely easily, since almost every one of them, lyrically, tells a very clear and complete story. Since many of Swift's songs are written in the past tense, the music videos are often presented as flashbacks. They'll cross-cut between her in the present, lying on the grass or lying on her bed and singing the song, with scenes visualizing the memories that she's singing about. And since the lyrics are so detailed and so specific, the videos tend to be extremely literal translations of what those lyrics describe. Teardrops on My Guitar, her second single, tells the story of Swift's unrequited love for her friend named Drew, who is in love with someone else. And so that is literally what the video is, visualizing Swift in a high school with a friend named Drew, who she's in love with, but he's dating some other girl. This also does what several of her videos do, and still do to this day. It opens with a narrative scene with dialogue before the song begins. So more than a decade before All Too Well, she was essentially already making short films. There's a similar premise to the video for You Belong With Me, but that one visualizes the lyrics even more literally. When Swift sings, "She's cheer captain and I'm on the bleachers," you'd better believe the video shows the rival girl as cheer captain and Taylor Swift up there on the bleachers. Whether she's singing about searching the room for an empty seat, not knowing what page a guy is on, taking a breath and walking through the door, or the faces of the people in an elevator, most of the videos would usually just put that visual on screen. Now keep in mind that Swift was very young at the time, and while she would collaborate in the development or writing of the video concepts, she would defer to the experienced professionals when it came to the actual filmmaking. In interviews, she seemed genuinely enthusiastic about making videos and learning about the filmmaking process. As she said in one interview, I'm blown away by the video crews and the lighting crews and the people who are setting up all these things. I would never be able to do that. I am blown away that all these people can work together and help me out so much. In the 1989 era, when Swift made the jump to full pop star mode, leaving country totally behind, she decided to upgrade her videos as well, and immediately linked up with the absolute best of the best. Mark Romanek, best known for the videos for Closer by 9 Inch Nails and 99 Problems by Jay-Z, directed the lead video for Shake It Off, which successfully sold the new image of Taylor Swift as major serious pop star, but also still your relatable regular friend. But it was her next collaboration that turned out to be the most important of her career, at least as far as videos go. Between 2014 and 2018, nearly all of her videos would be directed by Joseph Kahn, one of the masters of the 21st century pop video, the man behind Toxic, Say My Name, Everybody Backstreet's Back, Knights of Sidonia, and Thong Song. This collaboration produced videos like Blank Space, Wildest Dreams, Look What You Made Me Do, and Delicate, and in this time, Swift became much more involved in the process of the videos, writing the story or developing the premise for nearly every one, and working extremely closely and learning a lot from Kahn. These videos largely moved away from the regular format she'd had for years, where she's there as herself, a regular girl, either falling in love or remembering a relationship that didn't work out. In her videos with Kahn, Swift was usually playing a character, as the videos experimented with different genres and types of iconography, placing her in a spy movie, or a sci-fi movie, or a 1950s Hollywood melodrama. Compared to her earlier work, the videos were less literal interpretations of the lyrics, instead using the general idea of the lyrics as a jumping-off point for a narrative unique to the video. Like, yes, Bad Blood is about a friendship ending, but there is nothing in those lyrics about training in an underground spy school full of models and pop stars, and nothing about Tron light cycles. Taylor Swift solo directed her first music video in early 2020, which she says happened accidentally. Apparently, she really wanted a female director to helm it, but everyone she reached out to was unavailable, so she decided she had to do it herself. But if you ask me, she had already been preparing to make this jump for a while. Her collaboration with Kahn ended with the Reputation era. Presumably, she wanted a fresh visual approach with the next album. But when that next album and era came around, Swift was now co-directing all of the videos. For the first 3 singles off of Lover, Me, You Need to Calm Down, and the title track, she directed all of them alongside Dave Meyers or Drew Kirsch. So when she solo directed the music video for the album's 4th single, The Man, it really didn't seem very surprising. It seemed inevitable. As I have already said, Taylor Swift never does anything half-assed, and that includes making her solo directorial debut. The video for The Man is a satire about male entitlement, and a major reference point is Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street. So, Swift got Rodrigo Prieto, the cinematographer for The Wolf of Wall Street, to shoot the video, and she continued working with him on her next 2 videos, Cardigan and Willow. In all the videos she has directed, the influence of her time working with Kahn is clear. For one thing, she has continued working with his editor, Chancellor Haynes, but she also took stylistic things like his love of opening titles and the center-framed pullback reveal shot. But the main thing she has carried over is Kahn's precision. A lot of music videos are basically done like this. The artist is shot from a bunch of angles performing the song in a few different locations, then there's some B-roll, and the whole thing is cut together. Swift's earlier videos were usually her singing the song in some location, intercut with narrative B-roll. But Kahn's videos are almost always obsessively storyboarded. Every shot, every camera movement is choreographed to the song. There's basically only one way it can be edited since each shot has its specific place. And this is exactly what Swift has continued to do in her own directing work. She's not doing standard music video coverage here. There's no constant cutting back to the same angles or locations. There's always a full visual arc to each video. And these are not the standard pop videos with a cut every second. She'll sometimes have a master shot last 10 seconds or more, which is an eternity in music video time. And this could actually be a little bit of an issue in the first few videos she directed. Sometimes there could be a sort of empty space, or blank space, if you will. By that, I mean moments where she might hold on a shot longer than necessary where not much is happening. Like in The Man, there's this shot here of the titular man walking up to a wall and peeing on it, and it lasts for 14 seconds before finally building to a reveal. And in that time, we're really just looking at this guy's back. Or in Cardigan, there's this spectacular shot where Swift is clinging to a piano floating in a violent, stormy sea as the camera pulls way back wide, and then it just pushes back into the same tight framing it started with. Joseph Kahn packed his videos so tightly with visual ideas that you can imagine he would have found at least 3 or so exciting shots to cut to during this time, so the energy wouldn't drop like it does here. But I have to say, she has steadily gotten better at this with each successive video. So by the time you get to the videos from the Midnights era, this is no longer a problem. Those things are tight. I do wonder if sometimes her love and skill for deploying Easter eggs and subtle symbolism hinting at upcoming releases slightly overwhelms the video functioning as its own piece. The video for Lavender Haze is generally quite strong, with lots of psychedelic imagery that effectively captures the feeling of the song, the almost drugged up vibe of being in love. But then the climax of the video features Swift pushing down the walls to her house to reveal that she is floating in space, surrounded by these giant koi fish swimming around. Apparently, this is a reference to the guitar she played during the Speak Now tour, which featured 3 koi on it, indicating it is yet another reference to what has since been confirmed, that the next Taylor's version being released is Speak Now. But does this have any meaning beyond just being a clue to the next chapter in the ongoing Taylor Swift meta-narrative? I'm not so sure. Part of why I'm a little frustrated that the Easter eggs are such a priority is that as she's made more videos, she has become a genuinely impressive visual stylist, and her use of visual subtext has become pretty elegant. The video for Karma, which just came out a few weeks ago, is the most visually inventive thing she's made, and also the most abstract. This is one that really doesn't have a straightforward narrative, and it's very open to interpretation, but she packs nearly every bar of the song with a unique visual. At one point, she takes the form of a range of mountains looking over a lake, and then there's a clever bit of filmmaking that I never would have caught if it weren't for one of the many articles analyzing all of the video's Easter eggs. And this is the one time in this episode I'm going to mention Swift's personal life, since it's unavoidable. Karma, like many of her songs over the past 6 years, makes veiled references to her relationship with actor Joe Alwyn, which apparently ended back in April. And the line, "Karma is the guy on the screen, coming straight home to me," is widely interpreted to be referring to Alwyn since he's an actor. In the video, this line comes as we see Swift as a mountain singing it while reflected in the water of a lake. And midway through the line, a paddle cuts into the water, breaking up the image. A subtle visual reference to what has changed for her personally since that song was recorded.
Karma is the guy on the screen, coming straight home to me.
Honestly, I gotta say that's pretty clever stuff. And then this next shot is just really cool. Whoop, sorry, wrong shot there. This is the one that I meant. In 2021, Taylor Swift released her re-recorded Taylor's version of Red, her 4th album. One of the highlights of the album had always been All Too Well, a song that was never a single, but was beloved by fans and critics and widely considered among the best things she has ever made. The original song is 5.5 minutes long, but this new release came with an expanded version known as All Too Well, parentheses, 10-minute version. It's 10 minutes long. And immediately, many people, myself included, considered it the definitive version. And to accompany the new version of the song, Swift released what is to date her magnum opus as a director, All Too Well, the short film, which announces itself right from the opening title as not a music video. Except it is. I'm sorry, Taylor, but even if you're not on-screen lip-syncing the lyrics, this is still a 15-minute video where 10 of those minutes have the song playing in its entirety. It is, by definition, a music video, and that's fine. I love music videos. Like, look at Michael Jackson's Bad, which is 18 minutes long and directed by Martin Scorsese. If that is a music video, then so is All Too Well. Hey, call it what you want, but if any of her songs deserved a cinematic expansion, this was it. It's a perfect example of what she does best. Each stanza of the lyrics is a snapshot of memory, an event, a small moment, a feeling, and it's full of hyper-specific details highlighting things like the temperature of the air, or the detail of a keychain falling on the ground, and they all add up to tell a complete story, as a relationship gradually dissolves and ends in heartbreak. For the film, which is mostly told as a flashback, save for a present-day epilogue, Swift cast Sadie Sink as the protagonist and Dylan O'Brien as the man several years older than her with whom she falls in and out of love. She brought in some new crew members for this one, most notably Rena Yang as cinematographer, who she would continue working with on subsequent music videos. It was shot on 35mm film, pretty cool, in a 1.33 aspect ratio, nearly a square, which really emphasizes the intimacy of the story. When the two characters' bodies are close together, they fill the entire frame. There is nothing but them. Now you might think, or at least I did, that this would be an adaptation of the song, in the way a novel is adapted to film. But instead, it turns out to be an almost completely literal visual translation. Much like the music videos Swift made earlier in her career, much of the film is super literal, visualizing exactly what the song is describing at that moment. When she's singing about walking through the door and leaving a scarf in a house, or dancing around the kitchen in the refrigerator light, that is what we see.
I walked to the door with you, left my scarf there at your sister's house. We're dancing around the kitchen in the refrigerator light.
And so, a lot of it ends up feeling redundant. The visuals aren't giving us anything that isn't already in the song. If it seems like I'm being harsh, it's because Swift shows a strong command of filmmaking, and it feels like there's a version of this that works just fine without the song. That actually is a short film, not a music video. Here she moves away from the very slick, polished work of her music videos with a much more naturalistic approach and no noticeable visual effects. It looks totally different. The early parts of the film, when the relationship is at its strongest and everything seems happy, are largely told through smooth Steadicam or dolly shots. Then, as it goes on, the camera work transitions to entirely handheld, getting less stable and rockier as the relationship starts to crumble. There's an especially good match cut when the film cuts from a conversation around the parents' kitchen table to a birthday party in the same place months later. It's good stuff! And I just wish she would go all the way. There are parts where you see the characters having conversations, but there's no audio because the song is playing. And look, I love this song, but I want to hear the dialogue. The big centerpiece of the film, the part where it fully breaks away from the music video format, is an argument in the kitchen between the two characters. The song drops out, and you get this raw, emotional scene that plays out almost entirely in a single handheld shot. It is really confident filmmaking and shows a willingness to put a ton of trust in her actors and let them carry the film. You immediately understand why she cites John Cassavetes and Noah Baumbach as influences. But despite impressive aspects, I'm not sure how well the scene really works. Swift has spoken proudly about how the actors improvised a lot of the dialogue, and that doesn't come as a surprise, especially the way that O'Brien says fuck in almost every line.
Fucking remember, fucking had a fucking blast.
It escalates to full-blown melodrama so quickly, with Sink shouting, "You dropped my fucking hand," that it feels a little unearned. It feels like an okay first take of the scene, and with Swift being new at this, I know exactly how exciting it can feel to see a professional cast and crew take this thing that was in your head and make it real. But I think it needed some more takes and some more work with the actors to finesse it more and pull it back from the not great melodrama it veers into. It's clear she wanted a full Marriage Story style fight, but the film didn't earn it. This is an instance of the real theater kid energy to some of Swift's filmmaking, especially the music videos when there are narrative scenes with dialogue. The performances, including her own in videos like Look What You Made Me Do, or Bejeweled, are big and broad and eager, working a little too hard to sell jokes. Maybe this is just a matter of personal taste, but I often wish she would have done a few more takes and didn't feel the need to play to the cheap seats at a stadium show. Like, a close-up in a video is a very powerful tool, and it means that you can hold back a little bit. Less can often be more. So now there is the question of where Taylor Swift goes from here. She is clearly all in on filmmaking, and she has her movie deal ready to go. Searchlight Pictures presidents David Greenbaum and Matthew Greenfield said about her, quote, "Taylor is a once-in-a-generation artist and storyteller. It is a genuine joy and privilege to collaborate with her as she embarks on this exciting and new creative journey." Look, she could probably do whatever she wanted, but looking at her influences, I think it's clear what direction she's going to go in. No matter how huge a pop star she might be, selling out stadium tours with backup dancers, pyrotechnics, sequined leotards, and A-list celebrity cameos, her focus has always been on small-scale stories about human relationships. In various talks at film festivals about her directing work, it is clear that Swift knows her shit. She can talk intelligently about differences between film stocks, she has a strong grasp on film grammar, and she loves working with actors. There's a whole list of her influences that you can see in her work. The aesthetic of the Cardigan and Willow videos pulls from Pan's Labyrinth and The Devil's Backbone. Dramas like Marriage Story, Kramer vs. Kramer, and The Way We were major influences on All Too Well. But I think if you want a preview of the kind of movies Swift is going to make, the two filmmakers to look at are Joanna Hogg and Nora Ephron. I mentioned earlier her fondness for Ephron's mantra, everything is copy, and that's clearly been her philosophy since the very beginning, taking her experiences and what she lives through and using them as material for her art. And I'm not just guessing here. Swift has mentioned both filmmakers as major inspirations. Ephron turned her divorce from journalist Carl Bernstein into the basis of her semi-autobiographical comic novel, Heartburn, which she then adapted into a film that was directed by Mike Nichols. Joanna Hogg mined her own life for inspiration in the two Souvenir films. They are based on a relationship she had with an older man while she was a film student in the 80s, and then how she processed the aftermath of that relationship in her work. Like, if you haven't seen it, The Souvenir Part 2 is a film about the actual filmmaker making a film about her own relationship. These two filmmakers are obviously very different. Ephron mostly made comedies, and Joanna Hogg makes very quiet, deliberately paced art house films. And it's not like everything they made is autobiographical, but in nearly all their films, it's clear they are deeply interested in the inner emotional lives of women, and all the messy, complicated details that come with that. And whether in songs about her own experiences or the lives of other characters, this is what Swift has been doing for half her life. To be clear, autobiographical films are not a space reserved for women. Last year, Steven Spielberg and James Gray made movies about their own childhoods, and in recent years, we had movies like Alfonso Cuarón's Roma and Pedro Almodóvar's Pain and Glory. Noah Baumbach hates being asked about autobiographical elements of his films, but, like, they're clearly there. Especially when she was younger, there was this condescending, sexist narrative around Taylor Swift of, oh, she just writes songs to get back at all her ex-boyfriends. But as Tom Bryan famously wrote in a review of her second album, respect motherfucking craft when you hear it. Her relationships might be constant tabloid fodder, especially like this past month or so, but they're her life, and an artist processing their experiences by turning them into art is a tradition as old as time. I'm not suggesting that every single film she makes is going to be based on her own life. I don't think she wants to do that, but I can't imagine a world in which she'll move away from these types of stories. But as interesting as I think Swift's transition into filmmaking is, she is not the first mega-level pop star to do it. In the mid-'80s, riding high on the spectacular success of Purple Rain, both movie and album, Prince was given a blank check to do whatever he wanted next. And in classic Prince fashion, he did not do the obvious thing. Instead of making another slick, cool rock music movie, he directed and starred in Under the Cherry Moon, a black and white romantic comedy drama set at the French Riviera. He assembled an all-star crew behind the camera, including Michael Ballhaus, at the time Martin Scorsese's regular cinematographer, and production designer Dick Silbert, who had worked on Chinatown and most Warren Beatty movies. Under the Cherry Moon is a very weird movie, one that feels like it was made for an audience of just Prince and no one else. It's an interesting stylistic exercise, kind of a pastiche of 1930s romantic comedies, and also sort of a Fellini homage. It's full of Prince's sort of impish humor, where he's always slinking around and smiling mischievously. I can't help but respect such a big, wild, weird swing, but alas, the movie was a major flop. His next and final movie, which he wrote, directed, starred in, and did the music for, was Graffiti Bridge, an actual honest-to-God sequel to Purple Rain, and theoretically exactly what the audience wanted from him. But still, the movie bombed and Prince left filmmaking behind. Madonna, who we discussed earlier as having a much stronger acting career than Swift, dabbled in filmmaking as well. In 2008, she made a low-budget comedy drama called Filth and Wisdom, but her follow-up, W.E. in 2011, was a much more ambitious production. This was a romantic drama spanning decades, a true, serious attempt at filmmaking which played at the Venice and Toronto International Film Festivals and was released during awards season. But despite getting one Oscar nomination for costume design, it was panned by critics and bombed at the box office, and that was the end of Madonna movie director. And then there's Beyoncé. Other than Taylor Swift, probably the biggest solo pop star on Earth right now, and also currently on her own world-dominating stadium tour. And while she does it in very different ways, she's similarly a genius at crafting her own narratives and using iconography and symbolism to speak volumes. Every move Beyoncé makes feels like a meticulously crafted event. And so for an artist who so deeply understands the importance of imagery, whose videos have always been hugely ambitious statements, who released an entire visual album with a corresponding music video for every song, of course she was going to eventually direct something herself. But Beyoncé's approach to filmmaking is very different from how Taylor Swift does it. Instead of small, intimate stories that she writes and directs with a close team of collaborators, Beyoncé is more like the creative director. She's like Steve Jobs in the movie Steve Jobs, when he says,
"I play the orchestra."
On projects like Lemonade and Black is King, which are much more conceptual visual art pieces than traditional narrative films, Beyoncé is one of a collection of directors, up to 10 depending on the project. Hers is clearly the main vision, but she's working with this large team, picking specific directors for certain sequences and overseeing all the work. It's similar to how she makes music. She has an army of songwriters and producers, and people will come into the studio, work with her for like a week or so, and maybe only a couple lines that they wrote will make it into the finished product. But no matter how many people are credited, there is never any doubt that Beyoncé is the primary auteur. And I think that's what's so interesting about the way these artists have handled their filmmaking work. It always feels like an extension of their process for making music. Like, Prince was never gonna stick with filmmaking for long because, and I say this as a huge fan, he was a control freak who wanted to do everything himself and often play every instrument himself. He directed Under the Cherry Moon because he fired Mary Lambert, the original director, and took over the project himself. Film is a collaborative medium, and if you're not into that, it's probably not for you. And this is part of why I think Taylor Swift will be successful. When she makes an album, she's usually only collaborating with one or two other people, often a co-writer and producer like Jack Antonoff. Considering how huge these songs end up being, the actual creative process seems to be extremely intimate. She frequently works with the same group of collaborators who are often her friends. So I expect that as she starts making movies, she'll probably do what Joanna Hogg or Noah Baumbach or Wes Anderson do. I'm not saying like stylistically, but keeping the same crew from project to project, working with a lot of the same actors, a lot of people who are already friends. So honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if she makes like a $15 million movie with like Alana Haim and Laura Dern playing her mother, and it's kind of a romantic comedy drama, maybe a period piece. Some Swifties speculate that she's going to turn The Last Great American Dynasty into a movie, which, you know, I could see it. I'd watch it. Hey Emma, anything you want to add about Taylor Swift?
Only that her melodious songs are as smooth on the ears as a Henson's razor is on the cheeks.
Right, gotta do some shoehorning. Okay, so, in the hit song Antihero, Taylor Swift says that sometimes she feels like everybody is a sexy baby. And if you want your skin to feel as smooth as a sexy baby, you have gotta check out Henson Shaving. Nailed it. As we all know, I don't tend to shave my face very much. I gotta keep this permanent slight stubble, but I do shave my neck. I mean, you gotta. It gets really itchy if you don't, and no one wants a neck beard. But anyway, the point is that I shave my neck. And I've been using the Henson razor for it lately, and I do have to say, it is genuinely great. Like, I really like it. There's no cuts, no nicks, no irritation. See, the Henson razor comes from an aerospace machine shop designed by people who made parts for the Mars rover and International Space Station. That's cool. It is entirely metal, like there's no plastic on it, which means that there are none of those cheap plastic cartridges you have to keep buying and throwing out, and then they cause all this waste building up in landfills. So if you care about sustainability, this is good for that. This thing is super precise, it is super safe, and is designed to last a lifetime. And here's the cool part. It saves you money over time because instead of having to buy all those chunky plastic cartridges that you throw away, you just pop in one little blade at a time, and those cost 10 cents each. This is not a subscription. You will not be locked into something that's going to keep coming after you don't want it or need it anymore. It is literally just this one really well-made razor, and then a special deal for my viewers where you can get 100 blades for free. 100 blades is a lot of blades. That'll last you a long time. Here's what you do. You go to hensonshaving.com/Patrick H. Willems and enter code Patrick H. Willems at checkout to get 100 free blades with your purchase. The razor and blades need to be in your cart for the offer to take effect, so remember that. Again, that is hensonshaving.com/Patrick H. Willems and enter code Patrick H. Willems, my name, at checkout. 100 blades is a lot of blades.
It's the time you've all been waiting for. We asked for T-Swift essays, and most were pure trash. You Swifties gotta work harder than that if you want primo passes. Let's talk the cream of the crop. First up, Patrick Willems, with his full deep dive on Taylor's filmmaking career. We wanted to award Patrick with the Worst Submission Award. Patrick, my man, we asked for essays to be less than 200 words, and you just blew right through that. It's like you turned off the radio right before the actual rules to the contest came up.
Damn my preemptive turning of things off.
And so, the grand prize goes to, you might know him from Jonathan Demme's A Master Builder. That's right. Congratulations, Mr. Wallace Shawn! When reached for comment about the win, the septuagenarian actor commented that it was inconceivable.
Kidding me? Wallace, you bastard! Come in.
Hearing a lot of shouting from in here, but none of it seems to be about how great it is to shave with a Henson razor.
Patrick's just angry that Wallace Shawn bested him for the T-Swift tickets.
Wallace Shawn. He did that stunning Ibsen adaptation, right?
Yeah.
Look, Patrick, what matters here is that you talked about our sponsor, Henson Shaving. And I gotta say, you did Patrick's version, and while front row tickets to the Eras Tour would have been great, you know what's even better?
A smooth shave with NASA technology that's both high quality and economical?
That's right. Hey, I bet a nice shave will make you feel better. What is he doing?
It's the last shot of All Too Well.
So, like, am I his Jake Gyllenhaal?
I wouldn't read too far into it. I don't know how clean of a metaphor it really is.
Well, right, but if he's gonna do a bit, then, like, who... Red's the best album.
Enchanted is on Speak Now. And so is Better Than Revenge, which I think is maybe one of her best songs.
Free tickets on the radio. I got too bold when we over the word count, trying to win that gold. And my eyes were on the prize. I thought a new day would dawn, but I got beat out again by Wallace fucking Shawn. So here I am again, feeling so incomplete, hoping a smooth Henson shave will get me back on my feet. I'm too poor to afford tickets to the Eras Tour.
Hello, and welcome to the end of the video. And yes, what you just saw is true. Mission Impassable happened. It worked. We accomplished the mission. I went to Rome. I went to the Dead Reckoning world premiere. It was amazing. The whole experience was so cool. I still can't believe it happened. And so thank you to everyone who helped make it happen. Thank you to everyone who yelled at Paramount Pictures online about it. Thank you to everyone at Paramount and everyone involved with the movie. You know who you are, who, made this all come together. It was incredible. It was such a cool experience. The movie's awesome. Yeah. I'm just very, very happy about it. It also just occurred to me a minute ago that this is now 2 videos in a row that we've had that were partly shot in other countries. So if you're wondering why the videos take so long, that's part of it. But the next video is already shot. I promise we're trying to pick up the pace a little bit and not take like a month or so every single time. What else? Okay. Some people that I have to thank for working on this video. Chloe Holgate, of course, for doing vocals on our terrific new version of All Too Well, with lyrics by Jake Torpey, music by Brian Matolius, obviously originally written by Taylor Swift. Thank you, Mike Wuerth and Andy Webb, for camera operating on the narrative stuff. Steve Flack for giving me the finger in one shot, really helpful. And then thank you, of course, to the regular team who were all credited in the opening credits. They're the best. I think, is that all for now? If you want your name in the Patreon credits here and you want to, support the channel and basically the Patreon goes toward paying everyone who works on the videos. Anyway, you can join the Patreon. The link is in the description. And beyond that, I'm up here visiting my parents. There's the house for a couple days. They're doing great. They say hello. And I need to have lunch. Okay, that's all for now. Bye. Thank you for watching.